Hi everyone. Hi my fellow panel members. My name is Yali Pan. I am also together with other members here from the University of Maryland. I am also one of the phenomenologists there. Today, all together as a panel, we are presenting Van Manen's 6 research activities. I am so sorry that I cannot be there, so I'm gonna be, and I am virtually present over there with you guys, discussing the 6 research activity, the art of writing and rewriting in Van Manen's research activities. My research phenomenon is the lived experience of Chinese international students in the United States, and I am one of them. So I'm just gonna briefly talk about what it feels like to write in English as not my mother tongue, and to write and rewrite about their experiences, also partially about my own experience since I myself am an international student in the United States. So first of all, I want to start with what is a language. Language is a universal medium in which understanding occurs. That's what Gadamer says. With no language, communication and understanding will be difficult. What would it be like had we had no language at all? Would we be able to understand each other from generation to generation, and also among our present peers? To understand one another requires engagement with each other. Language is the way that we engage with others around the world. Language is the medium from which our whole experience of the world, and especially hermeneutic experiences, unfolds. That's what also Gadamer says. Language expresses our thoughts, emotions, care, and essentially our being. To speak a language is to express oneself to be understood. What if the language is a foreign language? What if the foreign language cannot make sense, cannot make the person who speaks it understood? Can we still say that the person is speaking the language? Gadamer says that it is literally more correct to say that the language speaks us rather than we speak it, especially when it comes to a foreign language. He contends that we cannot find the exact word in a foreign language, as there is no such a word exists. I often find myself incapable of finding the exact word that I'm looking for in English to express myself, as I often use sentences such as, "How do you say that word in English?" or "I don't know how to say it in English." Gadamer is right. As we speak a foreign language, we are actually translating our own language to foreign language. Every translation is actually an interpretation, as the translators bring themselves into the context. That is why there are different versions of translation by different authors for the same piece of work, because the authors bring themselves into the context and add meaning into the translation. It is the same with the philosophical works in our phenomenological encountering. For a person who speaks a foreign language has to use it in daily life, that person is in the midst of translation, interpretation, and application. It is no exaggeration to say that a translation has to be interpretation, and also direct translation does not make sense in a foreign language sometimes. Since there is no way that I can find the most accurate word to express myself and make the language speak for me, I often end up speaking the original word in Chinese and add my interpretation to explain and express myself. The words have been spoken, but has the meaning been found? Has the person who is speaking the language being spoken for? Can the language speak for that person? So for me, when I talk about the art of writing and rewriting, I feel like writing is a way for me to speak the language, and also in a way it is also for the language to speak for me. So, what does it feel like for me to write in English through writing and rewriting? Hermeneutic phenomenological research is fundamentally a writing activity, says Van Manen. It is the activity of writing and rewriting, which means that the writing does not enter the research process only as a final step or stage. That means that a person who is doing excuse me, a little bit of technical problem here. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about it. Okay, how come I cannot find it? Okay, just 1 second. Okay, here we go. So, where we are, which means that the writing does not enter the research process only as a final step or stage. That means that a person who is doing phenomenological research needs to fall in love with writing, as writing and rewriting are endless processes. To write is to open a space where one can be oneself. To write is to grant one sufficient time to express oneself. To write is to discover and rediscover oneself. Writing cannot be separated from any part of the writer's life. It is to express oneself fully and completely. It is to make meaning out of one's experience, says Anzang Dua. One has to find the most appropriate and accurate word, a language to express oneself, let alone to write in a language that is not one's own. Writing is inspirational. There are times that I write nothing after staring at my computer screen for quite a while. My mind is everywhere, yet ends up nowhere. There are also times that the thoughts simply flow naturally through my fingers and become text with no stumbling. I wonder whether I am writing or I am simply producing words, a text even, as Van Manen describes. Writing goes beyond both the writer and the specific addressed reader. Rather, it is actually a platform in public where everyone can find his or her own place. Gadamer says as the following: in actual fact, writing is central to the hermeneutical phenomenon insofar as its detachment both from the writer or author and from a specific addressed recipient or reader gives it a life of its own. What is fixed in writing has raised itself into a public sphere of meaning in which everyone who can read has an equal share. Therefore, my writing does not specifically target Chinese international students or people in education, but it also tries to achieve the goal that everyone and anyone who gets a chance to read it might interpret and understand. It is through finding a connection with the words of others and by having a present involvement in what is written, i.e., to interpret it so that it can make sense, that we can apply it to ourselves, according to Gadamer. Gadamer also says, writing is self-alienation. When I write, it feels like that I first live in another world, a world only filled with writing and thinking. Nothing else. It is like there are two selves in me, an inner self and an outer self. Says Van Manen, the outer self dwells in the physical space that I'm conducting my writing, and the inner self has been drawn into and dwells in the writerly space that the words open up, the textualism, the world of the text. Van Manen echoes with Gadamer, to write is a solitary experience, a solitary and self-forgetful submersion in textual reality. I traverse back and forth between the two worlds. In the writing world, I can be myself, the authentic me, with no concern about the potential response from a conversation partner as it would be in a verbal conversation. Before it becomes a conversation between a potential reader and me, writing is a conversation with myself. The conversation back and forth helps me to ask more questions and also prepares me with the kinds of questions that I will ask my participants. In writing, I detach myself from the mundane world, yet I still live in the world to get inspired. I write, I take a break, I take a peek outside of the window. My gaze stays on the tree, which is wildly waving in a wintry wind. My ears are widely open, seemingly to search for some voice that I can fetch and hold on to. And my heart is peaceful as a lake surface with no ripples. Writing helps me to ask questions. According to Heidegger, every questioning is a seeking. Questioning helps me to think, analyze, justify, and rationalize. It guides me to keep track of my questioning, such as why I prefer certain questions to others. What is the point of asking those questions? What are those questions going to lead me? Heidegger states, questioning is a piety of thinking. Piety is meant here in Asian sense, obedient or submissive, and in this case, submitting to what thinking has to think about. Questioning follows the direction of thinking. To ask questions is to think. A person who does not know how to ask questions does not know how to think. We think and ask questions in order to understand the nature of something, which we accomplish through our writing and rewriting project. Phenomenology is a philosophical project, and philosophical reflection is a product of wonder, according to Van Manen. Phenomenology starts with our own wonder, and we also need to end in a way that it induces the wonder of others by engaging them with our writing. My phenomenological writing serves to lead the way to human understanding, and I must engage with my readers to lead them to wonders through my writing. So for me, it's pretty difficult to write in a foreign language, and I feel like I often have to seek extra help than my peers to get my writing refined or polished. And it is a challenge for me, but I am very excited about it. And that's all I have to say about writing and rewriting today. And I am so sorry that I cannot be physically present at the conference. And I know that as phenomenologists, we all know that it makes a big difference if we are not physically there. So I apologize for that. And currently, I am in a hotel in Michigan. So if there is too much going on in the background or there are people walking by, so don't be surprised. This is the best I can find. So I will get back to my panel presenters. If you have any questions, you can give the questions to my members, my co-presenters, so that they can let me know what the questions are. I can answer them through email or phone call later. If you want, my email address is yalip@umd.edu as the University of Maryland. Thank you very much for your feedback. Again, I hope you all have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. And I hope I will see you guys and get to meet and get to know your work in the future. Have a good day. Bye.